everyone, so it's just taken me about 20 minutes to start this video. I've been sat in front of my camera for so long. I'm really awkward. I find stuff like this really hard. If you've watched either of my other videos, well, one of them I didn't have voice in, but my first video about what I got for Christmas, I'm ridiculously awkward. I'm so serious through the whole thing. My sister laughed at me for ages afterwards because of how serious I was throughout the whole video. But I don't think you understand how hard it is to sit in front of a camera and talk as if you're having a normal conversation and not be awkward and not be all like this. Today I wanted to talk about my heart. So this is what I talk about 98% of my time at the moment. People ask a lot of questions, and obviously I've been going to the doctors and hospital and things a lot recently. But mainly, I've been looking, whilst I've been at home and going through treatment and things, I've been looking a lot on YouTube for other people that have the same thing that I do. And I felt like it might be helpful to some people, because I know that I find it helpful looking at other people's videos and seeing what kind of treatment they've been given and how it affects them, how they stop their heart when they have an episode and things like that. And so I thought I'd share my experience and what's going on with me. For people that know me, if you're curious, this is what's going on when I usually put dodgy heart if I'm talking about it on Facebook, but I guess not everybody knows what that means. So I've just realised that I was talking at about 100 miles an hour, so I'm going to try and slow down a bit. I have a tendency to talk really quickly when I feel nervous, or I talk really fast in general. I often get told to slow down, so if I am talking too fast, I'm sorry, but when there's something in my head and it needs to come out, it all kind of comes out in a big jumble really quickly, rather than nice and slowly and calculated. I'm going to start from the beginning, well, kind of the beginning, but so June last year, I was working at summer camp, which I do every year, really. I think last year was my 12th summer, and we were walking up to lunch, and I sat down, we sat at the table, I started eating, felt absolutely fine, was a little bit hot maybe from being outside all morning, and basically I started to feel very lightheaded and just not quite right. And so I said to my friend Megan, I said, I really don't feel very well. And she basically just said to me, let's go outside, get some air, and see how you feel. So went outside, sat down, and I was like, my heart is beating really fast. It's kind of painful. And so Megan was like, I'm sure you're fine. Like, I'm sure you're just feeling maybe a bit anxious or overheated or tired or something. Like, just take some deep breaths, take in this fresh air, and we'll go back in and eat something. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. So a couple minutes passed. My heart's still going really quickly. And I started to worry because my heart was going, like, you could kind of see it through my t-shirt. And I had a feeling I didn't feel right. And so I said to Megan, I was like, I think I need to go to the health centre. So luckily it's a summer camp, so obviously there has to be a medical centre with people working there to check all the kids out if they injure themselves and stuff, and it's on hand for staff as well. So I went back inside. My sister is actually my boss at summer camp, so I went up to her and just said, I'm really not feeling well, I'm going to go to the health centre. And her immediate reaction was, no, you can't go, I need you this afternoon. And I just said, I'll be fine, like I'm literally going to go get checked out, see what they say, I'll be back really quickly. And she looked at me and I said, Emily, I really don't feel right. And I said, feel my heart. And she put her hand on my heart and she was like, okay. And then she wanted to come with me, but she had a meeting. So she asked Megan to go with me. Megan also works for Emily, so that worked out. So she took me to the health centre. When we got there, I was feeling really lightheaded, so Megan told me to go sit down, and went and found someone in the health centre. And they took me in really quickly, sat me down, and the nurse started to try and take my pulse. She couldn't take it. with, like, she couldn't work out how fast it was going because it was going too quickly. So she got me one of those clippy things that goes on the end of your finger to register how fast my heart was going. And I think at that point it was about 210. And I was like, what does that mean? I had no idea what a resting heart rate was supposed to be. And I said, is that fast? And she was like, well, a resting heart rate should be between 60 and 80 beats a minute. It depends on the person. I think really athletic people have heart rates below that. But on a general basis, your heart rate should be between 60 and 80. And I said, so this is like when you do exercise? And she said, well, when you do exercise, it maybe top goes up to about 160. And at that point, she called another one of the nurses in. And he looked at my heart rate and said, how are you feeling? And I said, I'm feeling really lightheaded. I keep, the feeling when you stand up too quickly and everything goes black, like head rush. It felt like that, but I was laying down. And so he looked at my oxygen levels and they were quite low. I think they were in either the 70s or the 80s. So he put me on some oxygen. And at this point I'm getting quite scared, so I'm starting to freak out. So I asked them to radio my sister to come and sit with me while this is going on. Megan was being great. She's very chilled in situations like that. She was kind of just chatting to me and pretending nothing was going on, which is what I needed. And so I'm just laying there, my heart's going really fast. I think it had gone up to about 225 at that point, which obviously is way too fast. And this had been going on for maybe half an hour by now, by the time we'd gotten to the health centre and seen someone and everything like that, from when it started. And so then my sister finished her meeting, came and found me, and the nurse said, okay, we're going to call an ambulance. And I said, please don't call an ambulance. I don't want an ambulance. I don't want to go to hospital. Partially because I realised at this point that I didn't have health insurance. Good job, Kaylee. But also just because I didn't want the drama of going to hospital. Ambulances scare the crap out of me. I didn't want to go. About 3 minutes before the ambulance came, we'd heard the radio that they were coming up, because obviously someone has to wait on the gate because it's a summer camp, to allow the ambulance up to the medical centre. And so we'd heard that it was there, and as it was coming up to the medical centre, my heart did this really hard, it felt like it did one really hard beat and then completely went back to normal. Like I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't feel it anymore at all, and obviously you can't normally feel your heart rate, so I was like, I feel a bit better. And the nurse looked at my heart rate monitor thing, and I think it had gone back down to 89 or something, a lot slower, and a lot more normal. And he then said, I think that you have something called SVT, which I'd never heard of, had no idea what that might be. And I was like, is it serious, blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, I think a lot of people have it, but we did the right thing calling the ambulance. I was like, okay. Paramedics came in, and the nurse went through, told him everything that had gone on. He'd been writing down the times and taking my blood pressure and heart rate and things like that. I think my blood pressure was quite low. I'm not medical in any way. I don't know. I think they explained because your heart's going so quickly, it's not pumping blood and oxygen around your body well enough, which is why you get lightheaded and things like that. And so the paramedics really quickly hooked me up to all the machines. And I don't think my heart rate was quite back to normal. I think it went back to normal and then went up a little bit again. And so the paramedic said that he was worried about it. He didn't like the way that I think they call it an EKG in America and an ECG in England, the way that it looked, and that he wanted to take me in a helicopter. So at this point, I'm starting to really panic. I get really upset. My sister, I think, was out of the room calling my parents, just keeping them updated on what was going on. And the paramedic could obviously see that I was getting upset, so my sister walked past and he said, you can come in here, by the way. And so Emily came in and I saw that she'd been crying because obviously she was stressed out, didn't know what was going on. And as she came in, I was hooked up to the machine and obviously it's beeping with my heart rate. And as she came in and I saw she was upset, my heart rate went really high up, and so it was like beeping really quickly, and she was like, I can't be in here. And the paramedics laughed. And I said, if you want my heart rate to go down or to stay down, then don't take me in a helicopter. I'm not particularly afraid of heights or flying, but the idea of being in a helicopter, an ambulance helicopter specifically, did not appeal to me. It freaked me out. I was like, I'm dying. I don't which should have the opposite effect. I should want to get to the hospital as quickly as possible, but it didn't. I freaked out. I didn't want to go in a helicopter. And so the paramedic rang, I think, his boss and just said, we're going to take her to this hospital, which was not the normal hospital that they go to, but they wanted somewhere that had a cardiology department or a strong cardiology department. And we're taking her in the ambulance. If any of her vitals or anything change, then we need to call a helicopter. And his boss, I guess, gave him the okay. Took me in the ambulance. Emily got to come with me. There wasn't space in the back, so she had to sit in the front. And Emily she's great in situations like that. She doesn't visibly get stressed. She's very good at keeping everyone else calm, but I know that she panics. And so obviously the driver knew that she was worried. So he, to calm her down, let her press all the buttons and the sirens and stuff. So she was having the time of her life in the front of this ambulance, asking questions and pressing all the buttons. I'll insert a video here, if my sister sends it to me, of her in rush hour traffic, pressing all the buttons, moving everybody out the way. While I'm in the back, freaking out pretty much, with another paramedic who is constantly taking my vitals, asking me questions. But at this point, I'm feeling fine in myself. I don't feel ill anymore. I feel very lightheaded and very tired. But other than that, my heart feels fine. But I was just exhausted. And I said, I didn't feel this tired before. I don't know why I'm so tired. And the way that he described it was that my heart had just run a marathon without my body. So my heart had gone so quickly for quite a long period of time. I think it went for about an hour. We live out in the middle of nowhere where I go to summer camp, so it took the ambulance a good half an hour to get there. So by the time, a little bit of advertising for my dad there, by the time my heart had stopped, I think it had been going for over an hour. One point in the ambulance that scared me was when we were going down quite a steep hill, and obviously where I was laying down in the back of the ambulance, when we go down the hill, my head was here, would tilt backwards, so in theory my blood pressure should go up because the blood is going to my head. But my blood pressure went really, really low, and the paramedic stood up and went, "Why is your blood pressure doing that? What's going on?" And freaked me out because obviously I have no idea. I can't control my blood pressure. I don't know what's going on. And he was like, why is it doing that? And he got really worried, but then it leveled itself out again. I think it took us about 45 minutes, if I remember correctly. It felt like a lot longer, but I think it was only about 45 minutes, with a couple terrifying speedy incidents, like going around a hairpin turn at about 60 miles an hour. And I think Emily has a video of that as well, where the driver says 2 wheels or 4 to go around this corner, because obviously it's such a sharp turn. And me panicking the back goes 4, which they all thought was hilarious. I was not laughing. But anyway, so we get to the hospital. They try and pull me out the ambulance. I've still got the oxygen tube stuck up my nose, which are attached to the ambulance. So as they pull me out, I get attached back in. But once I got into the hospital, it was fine. I was feeling 1,000 times better at this point. We get put in a room straight away, so we didn't have to wait around. And then, we just kind of had to sit around and wait, FaceTimed all the family, said I was fine, waited for a specialist to come and tell me what was wrong with me, basically. And another thing that I missed was the paramedic had been asking me a lot of questions on the way about if I'd ever had an episode like this before. And at the time, I guess, when I was wrapped up in all of it, I couldn't really think of a time that I'd had my heart go that quickly, or registered that my heart was going that quickly. I said that I had palpitations in the past, had put it down to anxiety, panic, things like that, because I had it a lot when I was living in California away from my family, and I just assumed it was feeling anxious about being so far away, and things like that. And I had actually been to the doctors in California about it, and the doctor had said that I had an irregular heartbeat, but that he wasn't too concerned about it, maybe to get it checked when I get home, but nothing had come of it. And which the paramedic thought was crazy, because obviously that might be a sign that there's something wrong with my heart. But anyway, the cardiologist came to see us and confirmed what the nurse right at the beginning had said, that I had this thing called SVT, which stands for supraventricular tachycardia, which is a bit of a mouthful, which basically means that my heart your heart has like a thing, I've got lipstick on my hand, your heart has a thing that sends electrical signals around, like telling it what rhythm to beat in, and my heart has a bit that usually, and everybody is dormant, so it doesn't do anything, but that has basically come alive, and is misfiring, so it's causing a short circuit in my heart, which echoes the beats of my actual heart and makes, I'm not medical, I can't explain it the way that doctors do, but this is the way that I've come to understand it. It makes my heart go too quickly. And so some people, apparently this happens to once and will never happen to again. Some people it will happen to regularly. And so basically while I was at the hospital, they took my blood, they put me on a drip, things like that, said I could go. So we went home. And as time went on, I was thinking about it, and I can remember times in the past where my heart had been going so quickly that I'd either say to my mum, my heart's going really quickly, or my heart's beating really hard and it hurts. And she's now actually remembered times that maybe when I was about 15 or 16 that I'd say that, and she'd feel it and it would be going really fast, but she'd think nothing of it. She'd think the same as I would, like anxiety, something like that. But basically the doctors told me to see a cardiologist, but also to they gave me some exercises that I can do if it happens to stop it from happening. So there's something called the Valsalva maneuver, which is basically like you hold your nose and you like bear down, and it's supposed to reset the rhythm of your heart. And there's other things like putting your head in an ice bucket, or coughing. There's loads of going upside down, there's loads of different things that you can do to stop it. And then my work decided that because I hadn't been signed back on to work, I had to see a cardiologist before I could work again. So I had to leave work again, go see a cardiologist, and then I could go back to work. And that all happened pretty quickly. I think we did that over the course of a weekend. I went to see a really good cardiologist, and she basically said that the best option for me would be to have a procedure called a catheter ablation. But for now, because obviously I was in America and not being treated at home, she gave me some medication. She said I could either take it twice a day or I could take it as and when I had an episode. And obviously I don't want to be taking medication, so I didn't take it. A couple of weeks later, I had another short episode that stopped relatively quickly. I think it was about 20 minutes, and didn't think anything of it, didn't say anything. And then it must have been in September, no, maybe the beginning of October. I had an episode. At this point, summer camp was over and I was working as a nanny, and I had an episode that lasted about 3 hours, maybe 3.5 hours. And to give you a time scale, doctors suggest that if your heart rate is like in SVT for longer than 15 minutes, you need to go to the emergency room or call an ambulance. But I still didn't have health insurance because I'm an idiot. So I didn't want to go to the emergency room. I didn't want to get in an ambulance. I didn't want to do all that again. So I tried absolutely everything to get my heart to go back to normal. I tried all of the techniques I could think of. We were Googling techniques. Someone that I know that also has SVT, who came over to help me, and we were like making me hold my breath under ice water for as long as I could. Literally tried everything, and then obviously did its hard beat, went back to normal. And so at this point my parents are getting quite worried. 3.5 hours is a long time for your heart to be in that much stress and to be going that quickly. And my dad actually found I think it's a medical website or maybe an article online that basically explains the severity of your heart going that fast for that long, for any period of time really, and every time it does it, it's more risk of your, like, basically having cardiac arrest, so your heart just stopping or giving up. So they decided it was best for me to go back to England, like where I live normally, to start having regular treatment, because obviously we have the NHS here, which is great. So I flew back to England, because I'd been looking online at how long treatment could take for this procedure, and there's like an 8-week waiting list for the initial consultation. Because we already knew what was wrong with me, we knew relatively well what I needed to have done. We wanted to speed up the process a bit. So he booked me a private appointment with a cardiologist who we went to see, and we had about 45 minutes with him, just talking through every detail of what had happened and what my experience was and things like that. And he confirmed that it's PSVT, which I can't remember, I think it's paroxysmal, I don't know, which basically means that it happens more than once, and that in his opinion, I need a catheter ablation or an EP study, which is what they do to find out which bit of your heart isn't working, and then the catheter ablation is the actual, they burn the little misfiring circuit in your heart. But he doesn't actually do those, and so he was going to refer me to another cardiologist to do this. And in the meantime, I got put on 2 different medications, one called flecainide acetate, and one called bisoprolol, I think. And one of them, I should really know what these do, but one of them makes your heart beat regular. One of them is a beta blocker, I believe. And yeah, so I've been on those medications since, I think I saw that doctor the 1st or 2nd of November. And it's now February, obviously. And in between then, I've had a 24-hour heart monitor fitted, which obviously didn't catch anything because you can't tell when I'm going to have an episode. I've had numerous ECGs that some have come up abnormal, but most of them have been nothing. You can't plan when you're going to have an episode, so you can't catch it. Unless you're at a hospital when it happens, you can't generally catch it on an ECG, which ideally you want to happen, because if they catch it on an ECG, they can tell you which part of your heart is having the issue. But that hasn't happened to me. I think I've been responding to the medication quite well, because there's been a couple of times that I felt my heart begin to go really quickly and last for about 5 seconds, enough for me to think, oh, and then it just goes back to normal. And so I assumed that was my medication working. But in the last few weeks, I don't know if I'm getting used to my medicine or if, I'm not sure what's going on, but I was walking down the stairs and my heart rate, I felt it go up. Not quite as hard and quickly as it normally did, but I felt it go quite quickly. So I have this app on my phone that registers your heart rate. You put your finger over the camera lens, and it registers how quickly your heart is going. It's not working right now. But the line along the bottom tells you the rhythm of your heart, and then the numbers come up with how quickly it's going. Here is an example of my heart messing up. So it was going over 200, and it was going so irregularly that it couldn't register how quickly it was going. So I looked at it, and I think it was at 180 something. So I rang my dad and I just said, hey, my heart's going really quickly. And he asked how long it'd been going for, and I said about 5 minutes. We didn't want to call an ambulance because my nearest hospital to where I live isn't very good. But there's one that's very close to that. That we wanted to go to. So my dad quickly came home from work. He only works about 5 minutes away. And him and his friend raced me up to the hospital that we wanted to go to. We went up to the front desk. They were taking all my details, things like that. And my dad made a point of saying, she's got chest pain, her heart's going really quickly, she has this condition. And obviously they have to take that seriously. So I got seen within about 30 seconds of getting there. And as I sat in the seat to be put on the heart monitor, my heart went back to normal, which obviously is really frustrating because we thought we were going to catch it and we just raced up there. But it is the best thing to do to go to the hospital if that's happening, because obviously they have to do all the kinds of tests just to make sure that it was nothing else. So then we ended up spending pretty much the whole morning at the hospital having blood tests done, things like that. And my heart has gone a couple times since then. And my cardiologist has suggested that I actually up my medication, which is something that I'm really looking to avoid, purely because it has quite a lot of side effects. Nothing hugely serious, but it can make you feel quite down. It gives me quite bad heartburn. You can have like an upset stomach. It can make you disinterested in things. Like it's a very strong medication, and it's not something, I'm taking quite a low dose at the moment. And it's not something that I'd want to do to up it. But obviously if I'm having more and more episodes, it's something that the doctors are looking at. But So the next steps for me, on the 2nd of March, I have an echocardiogram, which I've had already. It's basically an ultrasound, like what they do if you're having a baby, but they look at your heart and make sure that my actual heart, the muscle, is healthy, which I know that it is. Well, I hope that it still is. I had one done in America and everything was fine, but they have to do it. Obviously, it's just one of the steps. And then on the 11th of March, I have an appointment with the other cardiologist that I got referred to that hopefully will be doing the procedure, to talk to him and make sure that he agrees that I need the procedure. And yeah, so that's the next step for me. I'm just waiting around. If you're in hospital and you can't slow down your heart, the next step, if the Valsalva manoeuvre and things like that aren't working, is first of all they give you a shot of something, I think it's called adenosine, and basically that stops your heart for a couple seconds and then resets it so it goes at a normal rhythm, which apparently is really uncomfortable, so I'm obviously looking to avoid that. And then the next steps after that, if that doesn't work, is using the paddles to actually shock your heart into a normal rhythm, which obviously you don't want that to happen. So basically, it needs to get sorted. It doesn't affect me on a day-to-day basis. I often get an irregular heartbeat, which is quite uncomfortable. But other than that, you wouldn't know I was ill. I can't feel it on a day-to-day basis. But it is quite serious. It's something that needs to get fixed. Obviously, I'm not on a time limit, but I'd like it to be fixed soon because I want to get back to living my life. At the moment, I can't have a full-time job because I'm constantly going to hospital and doctor appointments and things like that. And I can't be in America, which is where I want to be, and then go travelling after that until this is all fixed. So that is my aim for right now. That's what we're working towards. And yeah, I hope that you have enjoyed my long ramblings about my heart, and yeah. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe for more videos. I'll try and keep you updated on the next steps with my heart and anything else that is going on. When my brain has something on its mind and I'm trying to get my words out, I was feeling real la 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 la. I was feeling if the la la la. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Hello. Hello. Hello everyone. So